So let's call the meeting to order. 10:02 is what I have uh, on the clock here. And our first, I guess, roll call wise, I believe we have a quorum. Is that right, Rachel? So we're set there?
Yep, you guys are all set.
Okay, great. All right, let's proceed to our first order of the day on the agenda, which has been distributed, I think it was last Wednesday, to everyone. First item is approval of the minutes from our May 6th meeting. I wanted to throw it out if there are any corrections. I do have one minor item, but I'll open it up to others first.
Tim, or Mr. Chairman, this is, so here, would you be so kind as to change O'Hare to Omar on page 2? Thank you.
Okay, Rachel has that. And one other just very minor item under new business, item A for CPE extension waiver requests. I think waiver was just misspelled. A transposition of the I and the V, I believe. And that's it. And I have no other items to raise. Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes.
Hey, Danny, thank you.
This
Second?
is Pete. I'll second that.
All right. Pete, second. Any discussion? Okay, if not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. Or let's all vote, rather.
Aye.
All those aye? Okay.
Aye.
Any noes? Okay, no opposition. We have an approval of the minutes. Thank you. Item 2 on the agenda. Any comments or concerns from anyone regarding today's agenda?
I do have something. So I sent you
Okay.
guys an email this morning with the two waiver requests that were submitted yesterday. I would like to ask if you guys would like to have them on the agenda today, if you guys could move to accept those two to be added for review.
This
Okay.
is Pete. I'll make the motion to add the 2 extension requests to the agenda.
I
Give
second.
a second. So Hare, second. Thank you. Okay, those, any discussion on this? If not, those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Any opposed? I see none. Motion passes, though they will be added to the agenda. Thank you. Moving on, item 3 for today's agenda, the legal
Jim?
division legislative. Oh, I'm sorry, Bonnie. Just saw
Just
your
one
hand
more
there.
thing regarding the agenda. One of the things that we said at the last meeting we would talk about is guidance for the universities. We're getting a lot of calls about that. So if we could have that as a discussion item before the end of this meeting, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, do we need a motion for that? It's a good point. I did notice that in the minutes from the last meeting. Do we need a motion for that, Rachel or Kat, or are we okay just to add that?
I don't think you're going to need a motion.
Okay.
I'll just add it in and we'll have it as
Okay.
a discussion.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, legislative updates.
So
Kat?
good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. So I heard from the DCP legislative team this year that this year's legislative session was very active. There were a lot of bills, way more than the past few years. 2 bills in particular affected accountancy directly. One was a bill to reduce licensing fees that did not pass. I believe Senate Bill 611 was proposed to cap all occupational license permits and registration fees at $100. And that did not pass. So the licensing fees for CPA still remains at $565. Registration is still $40, and the firm permit fee for multi-member firms is $150. and solo practitioners' fees is still 0. There's no cost. The other bill is the bill concerning the alternative pathway to get a CPA license. That bill did pass. House Bill 7020 became Public Act 2536. It was signed by the governor on June 10th. Its effective date is October 1st of this year. I believe that the version passed is wholly consistent with the new UAA. A copy of the Public Act is included in the meeting documents for your convenience. Essentially, the new law creates an additional pathway to get a CPA license in Connecticut. In addition to the old 2 ways, after October 1st of this year, a new education requirement is a baccalaureate degree with an accounting concentration as determined by the board by regulations. 150 hours is no longer required. The society was the sponsor of this bill, so Bonnie is a lot more familiar with it than I am. Bonnie, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, I thought you covered it well. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. So under the new act, it does require the board to implement regulations. As you know, right now, the law does not use the language accounting concentration. Basically, right now, the existing regulations require, it does not require, accounting concentration. Right now, it says 150 hours, including a baccalaureate degree with at least 36 semester hours in accounting education, 30 hours in economics and business administration, and 60 hours in general education. So, regulations will need to be passed. As you know, it's impossible to get new regulations implemented by October 1st, but we will have to get moving on that. So the board will need to decide how it wants to implement, promulgate new regulations. So it's up to you. I can help shepherdize the regulations through the process, but as you know, every time the board meets, it's a public meeting. It needs to be noticed. It needs to be conducted in public. So if you want the whole board to be working on the regulations, we can help set up a series of, special meetings for the board to do this. Otherwise, an alternative way would be for a member or like a subgroup to work on the regulations and then have it be presented back to the board for a vote or discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Kat. So sounds like there's some work that we'll need to do. I'm not sure. Have you spoken with John, Chairman John Schuyler
No,
about
not
this yet? Okay.
Yeah, no, not yet, not about this.
Okay.
I was going to bring it up at this meeting today and ask him to assign members or ask for volunteers or decide how the board wants to proceed.
Okay. Hi, Bonnie. I see your hand raised.
I did talk to John a little bit about this, and he did say we would pull together a small group. I didn't have a long conversation with him. He came to speak to our board, and then he was trying to get home to help out with different issues. But in terms of the accounting concentration, while the states were trying to keep the same language, most of them are not making any changes other than adjusting the total number of credits required, simply because some, like Connecticut, require in our regs more than the 120 that you have to be able to, now under the new pathway, sit for licensure. So we can talk about that later or whenever you would like, but I can tell you what most states are looking at doing, and we can do that under, whenever you want to discuss this section or later. But I will tell you that John did mention pulling a small group together to look at it, because the desire is to still try to remain as consistent as possible. It's not totally possible to have every state be exactly the same, and we know that, but to the extent where we can remain as similar as possible, that would be great.
Okay. So I guess we, as a next step, we probably should reconnect with John on this, but I guess it doesn't hurt to indicate we know there's some work to be done by some members on the board. If you're open to helping out, I would say express it here, or we can, separately connect with John and we'll pull a small group of us together to get this done, because October 1st is we'll be here before we know it. So
Tim,
And I
I'm,
bel-
Tim, I'm interested in helping.
great.
I'm interested
Thank
in
you,
helping.
Danny.
I'll follow up with an email with to John as well, copy you to let him know. I'm interested in
Great.
help.
Thank you.
And I believe he mentioned including, I'm almost positive, he said that he'd like to include some schools as well, which makes sense.
Okay. And I'm willing to help out as well to
I can
spread
help
the
as well,
workload.
too, Tim, if you want. Okay.
Thanks, Pete. Okay.
Bonnie, in what regards do you mean enlisting schools?
I think that, well, all the schools are definitely interested in how this is going to be implemented because it impacts their curriculum.
Mhm.
So a number of them had changed their curriculum to kind of turn the accounting into a 5-year program.
Yes.
Now they've got to go back to 4 years. So what we do will incredibly impact them, and they don't move very quickly because of all the boards and accreditations, et cetera, everything they have to go through. So they do have some ideas, and we've already received calls from a number of schools, but they're including them, I think, is to get their input as to what classes it makes sense to include, which one it doesn't. I think most schools are looking at more the general ed requirements. Should we just reduce the number of those? But some of the language regarding the accounting classes, because so many accounting classes now are actually technology classes, including them to find out how it should be worded would be important. I think also, and I don't know how this would work, but to the extent possible, making it as evergreen as things continue to change is another desire. For example, there's no state with this now, but there is a real push in the right now Midwest, and it's by state universities, actually the governors and the state universities, to try to go more with the European model. So the bachelor's degree would not be 120 credits, it would be 90. And what they would do is they'd still keep all the core credits, but they'd limit the number of, what did we call them? Elective credits.
General.
I'm trying to remember. I haven't been in school in a long time. The ones you get to choose to take, whether they're not
Electives.
electives.
general
Thank you.
electives.
Yeah, so no basket weaving 101.
Exactly. So I know I went to school in Europe for a couple of years, and I did not have a single elective in the 2 years that I went there. Had I stayed there for one more year, I would have had my bachelor's. But I came back home and I had to go for 2 more years. And I think I learned less in those 2 years, even though I love my university and I had a great time. I definitely learned much more in that concentrated area. And it's because they don't give you the opportunity to take basket weaving, et cetera. So it is a big push because of the cost of school. A lot of states are looking at that now. And so they're looking at the European model. I would remind you that we do have the CPA in Europe now with that model. So maybe actually taking a peek at what some of those schools do if we wanted to, or we just go with what we currently have. Again, there are no states in the United States right now that are at that 90 credit hour. So do we stick with what we have under the 120 model? And that's a lot easier to do because we can just look at what was there before and see what needs to be updated from the last time we had the 120 model, and then make any modifications should the 90 credit start to move in the states. So that's why he's including the schools. There's just a lot going on, and they need to be included if we're going to have people graduating with both the knowledge and the requirements in place to obtain their CPA credential.
All right. Thanks for the explanation. one of my partners is a longtime professor at Fairfield University, and it's a conversation that we talked about, that we discussed as well. So it's like, if it's, if Fairfield's one of those schools that can be involved, I would definitely welcome them.
Great. Yeah, and I think, just coming out of the one of the topics of the NASBA meeting was the impact of AI in the profession. And, one thing they made clear is, the importance of increased importance. It's always been important, but critical thinking skills and judgment going forward when we're using AI and understanding what the outputs are. And so when we think about accounting curriculum, maybe as we're really thinking about what's necessary to be a CPA, we think about what are those courses that are being offered that are really important to help students develop those skills, and make sure, I'd argue maybe that's something that we consider as a requirement for the profession.
When we go through it, it'll be really interesting because there have been schools that have submitted classes to be approved as part of the accounting group and not gotten approval, but they're headed in the direction of what you were just talking about and data analytics and other things. So I think looking at it is going to be really important. Remembering it takes so long for regulations to get through, how we phrase it's going to be key, because anytime there's a new aspect to it, if the regs are too specific, our schools won't be able to make those modifications quickly, and the schools actually act quicker than the regs take to get through. So it's just something to keep in mind as you move forward. I think that's the reason why I think it's always on John's mind how long it takes to get regs through, because he's been through several of those phases, as have many of you. And I think it's doable. It's just something to keep in mind.
Great. Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you, Kat, for the update. Anything more on the legislative front? If not,
No, not at this time.
okay. Thank you.
Can I follow up on
Yes.
Senate Bill 611? Everything Kat said was point on. She did an excellent job. I'd just like you to know that the 611 is something that a lot of legislators were, this is the fee bill. A lot of legislators were very supportive of. The reason why it did not move forward, and it did get through both the committee unanimously and the Senate unanimously, but there was great concern about what was happening in Washington with a budget, from a budgetary aspect. And so a lot of bills that had potential budget impacts came to a grinding halt. And there is talk about a special session to possibly make additional revenue adjustments depending on how much Connecticut's budget is impacted by, what are we calling it? The big, beautiful, whatever the federal budget, whatever happens with that. So I just raised that now because I do anticipate that will be an issue that comes up again next year. What happens with it will largely depend on the federal government, but I know it's something that a number of you actually helped me with, that legislation in terms of guidance, and want to know that it did not proceed, not because of opposition, but truly solely because of federal budgetary impact on the state's budget.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that background, Bonnie. It's helpful.
Bonnie, could I ask, have we quantified like what that number is? Like, is it as simple as the number of licensees times the decrease? Like, is it?
The funny thing is, I actually think that the state could get more money, because many of those dollars in the fund are the $40 for people that don't need an active license, so to speak. And the only time you really need it is if you're doing a test work. So there are a lot of people out there that are registered but don't are paying that $40 fee because our fee is so high. But they say that the bill overall is $16 million because it's everyone in DCP. If you look solely at the CPAs, it drops down to, I think, $2 or $2.5 million. But still, when you've got budgetary concerns, $2.5 million is a lot of money.
Okay.
Okay. Let's moving on. Now we're on to item 4 on our agenda, old business. I don't believe John has joined yet. Is that right? Does anyone see? I know John had brought up, Chairman Schuyler brought up at our last meeting, revisiting the discussion on the chairperson position. I'm not sure exactly what he wanted to share at this meeting. I think we all know that he's expressed interest in stepping down after a number of years, and I think is looking to commence the process to identify his replacement as part of that. And I know there is a process around this, and I think kind of Kat or Rachel can share, I think, what that process looks like, where, whereby anyone interested, there's a nomination process and then ultimately an approval. Is that right?
Yeah, so I can speak on it a little bit. All of the board appointments are done through like the governor's office. So we'd have to go through the director of appointments there for any changes. If there's multiple people interested, you can let me know and I can pass that information along to Tom. If there's, I know we spoke about you, Tim, but if there's anyone else too, we can pass along the information and then they will go through the process. I haven't had a situation where there were multiple people interested in the same position, so I'm not sure exactly how that process would go for them. They may conduct interviews with everyone and kind of see who they choose as the best candidate for that. But as long as I've had a board do it, just one chair has stepped down and a member stepped up as a chair. So it was just a quick process. I just let Tom know.
Okay.
They did the paperwork, and once they do that, they'll give the appointment memos go out, and then we're all set.
Okay. Well, great. Well, I know, John's been doing this for 10 years and, I'd be willing to put my name in the hat. Can't say for 10 years, but certainly to give John a break and, yeah, just to help the process move along. So if that would help, I'd be happy to do that if you want to start the process, or if there's anyone else that, feels like you'd want to do that as well, please do so.
I feel like you taking charge of the meeting today is sort of like you're the logical choice.
I was asked to step, yeah. Okay.
So we appreciate that.
All right. Well, thank you.
Can we vote in favor of it now? I would be in favor of it, of course. Just kidding. I know we got to go through the process, but yeah, I would be very supportive of that.
Okay. Well, thank you all. All right. If there's no other discussion on and no other old business, why don't we move on to the new business? So we have a number of CPA extension waiver requests. There are 3 that are listed in the formal agenda, and then there were the 2 additional individuals that we agreed to add to the agenda. So shall we move on with those? First, we have Michael Vincent Adams requesting an extension through September 30, 2025. Reason is good cause. Any other? I mean, everyone's seen the information shared within the agenda. Any thoughts, questions on his ask? Okay. Seeing none, could I entertain a motion to approve Michael Vincent Adams' request for an extension?
I move to approve the request for an extension.
I'll second Robert Day.
Okay, great. We've got the motion moved and seconded. Are there any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, I'd like to put it up for a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Okay, anyone opposed? I see none. Ayes have it, the motion is adopted. Second request is Linda Hanson Blackburn. She is requesting an extension through December 31, 2025. Again, her reason is she indicates it's good cause. Any thoughts on Linda's request, Linda Blackburn's request? The only thing
Tim-
oh, yes,
please.
sorry. Yes.
No, I
Sohair,
just wanted to
please.
ask, and I think I may be the newest member here, but is it common for CPAs to ask for an extension on the CPE due to unexpected work arrangements? This one wasn't as compelling as, the others, so I just wanted to know the history.
I would say historically, we would like work schedules and so forth are not good cause, I would say is the tendency.
Yeah. I'd also add on this one, even if someone were to argue that it was the tendency, I noticed that the letter she submitted was, I think it was paid December of 2024. So she had 6 months prior to this whole work situation unraveling to have taken CPE and anticipated this. So just an observation when I read her support for a good cause.
My question is does she work for a public accounting firm? It's kind of hard to tell, like, what this letter actually is. Is this like her job responsibilities or something?
Yeah, it looked like she was notifying one of her clients of the plan to no longer support them as it relates to some system
Yeah,
that
like,
she was supporting.
Yeah.
I don't really understand what the submission of information has to do with the CPE and who she actually works for.
I think she's on the meeting. I don't know if she wants to kind
Okay.
of speak to her situation.
Sure.
I do see her. I just don't know if she's muted, so I'm not sure.
Oh, I do see her as well. Ms. Blackburn, would you care to add anything to your request? Okay, no response. Okay, so with in light of this request, would someone I'd entertain a motion?
I'll make the motion to deny the request.
Okay,
I'll
Peter's
I'll
motion.
second.
Danny, second. Okay. Any further discussion?
Linda has her hand up.
Yeah, she raised her hand.
Okay. Thank you, Sohair. Yes, Linda, you'll need to come off mute, please. There we go. Oh,
Hello?
yes, hi.
I'm sorry,
Blackburn?
I'm having trouble with technology.
No worries.
I think there's a little confusion about my letter. I'm a CPA in 2 states. I do most of my CPE for both. One is a calendar year and one is fiscal year 6/30. My problem is that I do most of my work in a different state and I do technology integrations. I had to return. So I think you got kind of half the story. I make my business out of integrations and teaching. I don't do any financials. I've been a CPA going on, I've already 40 years. I've never practiced, never done financials or audit. I've been advisory. I'm 1 year from retiring. Actually turned 64 in 6 days. My situation was such that being responsible for a total integration, and the person that came in lasted 45 days, destroyed the system, and I had to go back. I have since done 39 hours of going on and doing it painstakingly for a week. I'm not looking to say that my work is pending, has affected it, other than the fact that I am just not in this state, and this state doesn't have CPE after more or less after June 30th. I was just trying to get to Arkansas credentials rather than, that's why the December is, because it's annual. I really just needed some time after June 30th. I hope that makes a little bit more sense. My work related is because I work outside of public accounting at this time until I retire. So that's the situation. I never asked for any extension. I've never had the problem that I've had this year, and it's just been very difficult. So I respect any decision you make, but that is the total story. I'm sorry, I had a little technology to get in to speak, but that is my situation.
So correct me if I'm wrong.
I respectfully, honor whatever you guys say. That's fine.
So Kat, can you clarify, because if she's not working in public accounting and she's not operating in a CPA capacity, does she even need CPE in Connecticut? Because I thought with a certificate you don't,
If
unless she's having a license.
yes, yeah, you do need a license if you if you use a designation CPA in your work. So even if you do tax work, for example, and you use a CPA designation, you are practicing public accountancy, and therefore you do need a license, which means you do need CPEs.
But it sounds like that's not the case here. She's not practicing in Connecticut at all.
Well, the question would be, where is your principal place of business?
I'm currently remote in Cheshire, Connecticut. And fortunately or unfortunately, I have Linda at sbascpa.com. So I'm connected by the mere building of, I've had a practice for 25 years that after COVID, I no longer, I transferred a lot of the things that I was doing, which was again, building systems for people and companies for the purpose of someone else. So I'm tied because of the CPA in my name, and I'm in the process of merging with another consulting firm, which will not have that, but I'm just not there yet.
Yeah, but the question still remains, where is your principal place of business? A lot of people remote, a lot of people are licensed in multiple states. So where is your principal place of business?
I'm in Connecticut. I'm in Connecticut. Yeah, oh yes, I've lived in Connecticut for 29 years, yes.
Right. In that case, you need to follow the Connecticut CPE requirements. If your principal of business is in another state, then you can satisfy that state's requirement, and then we will recognize that. But if your principal place of business is in Connecticut, then you need to satisfy the Connecticut requirements, which means that you need to complete 40 CPEs by June 30th.
Right. That's why the purpose of the extension and waiver request.
Okay, I just wanted clarification there because the whole conversation didn't really make much sense. Now it does.
Okay, so Pete had previously made a motion and it was seconded. Is that still on the table, or is someone interested in a different motion? Okay, hearing none. So I think the motion and as seconded was to deny this request given it did not meet the definition of good cause as the board is interpreted. I'd like to bring that up for a vote. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, the ayes have it, and the motion to deny is adopted. The next request is for an extension by Robert Zidane, who's requested an extension through August 15th, 2025 for medical reasons. Apparently had some sort of accident, looked like issue with his knee and surgery, and had a small number of credits that he still needed to get through before June 30th. Any discussion on this and or a motion? No discussion. I can't make a motion, so
I'm sorry. This is Pete.
Sorry.
I'll make the motion to approve.
okay.
I'll
Motion to
second.
approve.
Second.
Okay, I think Sohair may have beat Bud on that. So we have a motion to approve the extension and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, hearing none, the ayes have it. The motion to extend is approved. So now we're moving on to the two additional requests. I don't have the detail in front of me. I have the first.
I can read it
Yeah.
out if you'd like.
Yes, please. Yeah, Fino and
Sure.
Hints.
So the
Okay.
Okay, perfect. So the first one is Michael Fino, requested an extension through August 31st, 2025, and the reason was good cause.
Okay, has everyone had a chance to review that request as it was sent out by email? Any discussion on the request? And if none, I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the request.
And thank you, Sohair. Do I have a second?
This is Pete. I'll second.
All right, thank you, Pete. So we have a motion and a second to approve the extension through August 15th, 2025 for Rob. I'm sorry. This is for on Fino. An approval to extend. Could I hear all those in favor of aye for the motion? Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, no opposed. I think the ayes have it. That motion is adopted. And next and final is last name Hints.
Yep, so we have Stephen
Thank you.
Hintz, the requested an extension through July 15th, 2025, and the reason was good cause.
Okay. Would someone like to make a motion on Mr. Hintz's request?
I just wanted to ask if it's okay, again, is it past practice to approve these types of requests if someone is moving?
That was, I was just gonna bring that up. I don't know that moving is a valid excuse.
I don't recall such a item ever having been approved. I don't know if we specifically considered a moving situation, but I don't recall anything similar personally.
I don't either.
Especially when the closing date was June 27th. you had to know you were selling your house prior to that. Kind of plan accordingly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, do we have a motion on the table?
I'll make a motion to deny.
I'll second.
Okay, motion to deny with a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? I see none opposed. The ayes have it. The motion is denied. All right. I think that takes care of all of our items on the CPE extension waiver request. New business item B, we're moving on to exam credit extension requests. And there are
Yes,
4 of those. Yes.
yeah, I will
Yeah.
be presenting these. A number came in because the end of the universal extension is coming to, to an end on June 30th. As you know, in the old days, a candidate would have 18 months to pass all 4 parts of the exam. During COVID, due to unavailability of testing centers, universal extensions were granted, and then, credit relief extensions. And so anyway, a lot of that is coming to an end on June 30th. So we're getting a lot of requests coming in. The first one is Shoredi Bala, Mr. Ambadi. He is a foreign student, so each document shows his name in a different version. So I'm not exactly sure which is his first name, which is his last name. But anyway, he is requesting to extend his FAR and his reg credit expirations from June 30th to September 30th, based on medical reasons, and the medical documents were provided to you for your review, because as you know, we can't discuss medical reasons in public. So basically the FAR, he took that in September 2022. The original expiration date was March 2024. And based on the universal evolution extension, it was extended to June 30th this year. And he's requesting to extend it to September 30th. The regulation section, it was earned. He took it on October 2021. The original expiration date was April 2023. And based on universal extension, it was extended to June 30th. And he's requesting to extend it to September 30th. The only remaining section he has to take is the AUD, and his record indicates that he has never taken the AUD exam. So unless you have any other questions for me.
No other questions from me. Any discussion on this item, or I'd entertain a motion? I guess I'm not sure they had not even tried on the audit front within that time frame.
Correct. I believe he was busy taking the BEC. So if you look at his record, he took the BEC part in 2023 and December 2022, but he failed both times. So as you know, January 2024, the BEC change of the CPA exam format changed. So the BEC became, you can take one of the 3 disciplines.
Sure.
And so he took one of the discipline, he took the TCP, and he passed that. So even though he never took the AUD, I believe he was busy taking the other parts.
Yeah. Okay.
I would due to the supply that we have of CPAs, I'd hate to deny someone who's so close. That's just my 2 cents. So
I agree with that.
Okay.
Guess I'll make a motion
Motion.
to grant the extension.
Okay, thank you.
I'll second it.
Okay, Bud second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, hearing none. The ayes have it. Motion's passed.
So Mr. Joshua Budwitz, he is requesting to extend his AUD and his FAR credit from June 30th to August 30th. The reason is good cause. He said he has been diligently working toward completing my CPA exams while managing a full-time consulting role and being a father for 2 young children, 2.5 years old and 7 months. So he took the AUD in August of 2020, which was 5 years ago. The original expiration date was February 2022, and it was universally extended to June 30th. As to the FAR, he took it in September of 2019, and it originally expired in March of 2021. Based on our record, in November of 2020, he requested the board for an extension to June 30th of 2021. So at that time, during COVID, the board granted a universal extension to all exam scores that expired between April 2020 and June 30th, 2021 to December of 2021. So he was given that extension. And then late in December 21, he came back for another request to say that he tested positive to COVID. So at that time, the board approved to extend his FAR credit to February of 2022. But based on the universal extension, it was granted again to extend it to June 30th of 2025. So now he's requesting to extend it to August 30th. He has 2 remaining exams. The reg, he made 2 attempts. He did say in his email that he would not sit for the reg on June 14th, but he actually did not. I emailed him, I asked him, and he said that he needed to move it to August. As to the ISC part, he did take it this past Saturday. He said that he felt pretty good about it, but the score is not released until July 17th. So I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So he has re-engaged with taking it sounds like. So because he just took a part. Okay. The beginning,
Yes.
It sounded like it's been years and like his kids are like in college now and he's still not taking it or something. I guess I'll make a motion to extend it or approve the request.
I second.
Okay. Great, so we've got a motion and a second. Everyone in.
What's the good cause on this, I guess?
Well, the good.
Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys.
I guess I would just,
The good-
I intend to vote in favor of this extension, but I have to say, if this isn't done by August 30th, I would not be inclined to ever extend this again. I mean, it's gone on for a very long time at this point.
Agreed.
I don't know. I would say as a board, we were very generous extending everything to, June 30th, 25 for everybody. And I don't know.
There's probably people who have started college and passed the CPA exam since this person started taking it.
Exactly.
Okay. Any further discussion or comments? Okay. So shall we, there's been a motion and a second that have been put on the floor to approve the extension to August 31st, 2025. Could we get all those in favor of this motion, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Pete,
Pete and Danny. So, and I didn't see Bud's
I voted yes.
voted yes. Okay. All right. The ayes have it. This motion to approve the extension is approved. Our next one is Anisha Mandina. Kat?
Yes, hi. It's actually, there's a misspelling of her last name. It's actually Mamdina, like the new New York mayor. But she is requesting to extend her credit expiration date from June 30th to September 30th. For reason of good cause, which is based on medical reason of her family, and that was, provided to you. She earned this credit in September of 2018. Originally, it expired in 2020, but it was extended to June 30th of this year. And so she's requesting to extend it to September 30th. The only remaining part is the AUD that she has to pass, and that she has a notice to sit to schedule, which is, like you get a ticket to sit for the exam, and that expires August 24th. And she does intend to take it by August 24th.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on Miss Mandina's request? Okay, I'd entertain
I'll make a
on-
motion to approve the extension.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, got a second by Sohair. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, if not, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay. The ayes have it. Motion is adopted. I guess one more, Kat?
Yes, Joseph Osborne, he's requesting to extend his AUD credit from June 30th to December 31st of this year, for reason of good cause. The birth of his daughter in July of last year and the medical reasoning surrounding that. He earned his AUD credit in September of 2021. It expired 2023 and it was extended to June 30th, and he's requesting to extend it until December of this year. Do you have any questions? I believe the only remaining test he has to take is the BEC, which is one of the parts.
Yeah. Do we know if he's scheduled that?
We don't know that.
Okay. Any questions of Kat on this request? Not, I'd entertain a motion. I'm going to be quiet. I have to be.
I will move to approve the request.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve by Sohair. Thank you. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, Stacy second. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 And any opposed, say no.
Pete, no.
Pete, okay. The ayes have it on the vote, and so the motion is adopted as proposed. Okay, that's it, Kat, right on? Great.
That's it.
Okay, and that closes out our new business items. So why don't we move on to item C, new business settlement agreements, and there are two. 2024-47 Margaret Pearl Douglas and 2023.36 Markham LLP. And Kat, will
Yes.
you talk us through these?
Yes, so the first case is 2024-47, Ms. Margaret Pearl Douglas. She was first issued a Connecticut CPA license in November of 2016. She was also licensed in New York. So in January of 2017, she formed a business called Canaville Consulting LLC with a Hartford business address, and it was registered with the Connecticut Secretary of the State under NAICS code, Offices of Certified Public Accountants. She was the LLC's sole member, and she actively conducted business through this LLC. It was dissolved in December of 2024, just this past December. Earlier this year, she moved to New York and she formed a new business called Pearl Douglas CPA Services PC, which is operated out of New York. Although she continues and will continue to render services to Connecticut clients. Her practice is mostly tax work and business consultant. She does not do any attest work. The department is alleging that she violated Connecticut Statute 20-281E, which is practicing public accountancy with an office in Connecticut and using the CPA title without a firm permit. So she never applied for a firm permit. And operating and Section 20-281G, which is operating a CPA firm without a firm permit. So throughout the investigation, she was very responsive and very cooperative. She was very apologetic. She stated that she didn't know about the firm requirement. And we found that there was no intent to evade licensing laws. In fact, this matter came on our radar because she emailed us. She said, I moved to New York. Do I still need to maintain my Connecticut license? And we looked into it, and that's when we saw her firm, all those years without a firm permit. So based on our investigation, we entered into a settlement agreement with Ms. Douglas with the following term, that she is to pay a penalty of $1,000. So we recommend this settlement agreement for the board's approval.
Okay, thank you, Kat. Any questions of Kat on this this proposal? All right, hearing none, I'd entertain a motion in regards to the settlement.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay.
Robert Day seconds.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve with a second. Any further discussion? If none, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Or any opposition? So the ayes have it. Motion to approve is granted.
Thank you.
Okay, item 2.
Case number 2023-36, Markham LLP. So this case stemmed from an SEC order and a PCAOB order, both of which have been provided to you. These orders are very lengthy, so I won't read them here or even attempt to summarize them. Essentially, the SEC and the PCAOB orders contained findings of systematic quality control failures and violation of audit standards by Markham from at least 2020 in connection with audit work for SPACs, which are special purpose acquisition companies. Markham neither admitted nor denied the findings set forth in the SEC and PCAOB orders, but consented to the entry of the orders. So during the investigation, we determined that there was Connecticut nexus to the alleged violations. As you know, nexus is not required for the board to take action, but in this case, there was nexus. The firm showed that since September of 2022, It has developed and implemented extensive remedial measures to its policies and procedures and governance. Most of these measures are listed in the settlement agreement. So based on our investigation, we entered into a settlement agreement with Markham. Markham neither admitted nor denied the allegations, but agreed to the following terms. One, Markham will comply with all undertakings contained in the SEC and PCAOB orders. I believe that this is very close. I believe this is being accomplished as early as next week. Two, Markham will disseminate a copy of the settlement agreement to all current personnel and all former personnel now employed by CBIZ who are licensed in Connecticut or work at any Connecticut location. As you know, Markham merged with CBIZ last year, so some of the staff went to CBIZ. So we want to make sure that those staff also get a copy of this. And finally, Markham will pay a fine of $125,000. I wanted to note that this settlement agreement does not include the typical order requiring staff to take CPEs because Markham had already required all its audit staff to complete CPE courses relating to SPAC audit. And so Markham had already provided us a list of names of the Connecticut staff who completed the CPEs and the completion dates of the courses. So we recommend this settlement agreement for the board's approval. Tim was the advisor of the case. Tim, is there anything you'd like to add?
No, just supportive of where we're landing on this and the work that Kat did to get us to where we are. I mean, most important in these things is understanding what the root cause were and that there's remediation that's planned and occurring and in place to ensure this doesn't happen again. And I think we're personally, I got comfortable that in light of what's in the PCAOB and the SEC order, and also understanding what I think some other states are also in the process of addressing this issue for their state purposes. I think we're landing in a reasonable and appropriate settlement with Markham on this. So I'm supportive of this. I will not be voting since I was the advisor. And John was going to recuse himself, but since he's not on the line, no need for that. He's not going to vote on this either. And yes, Stanny, questions?
I'm going to have to abstain because Markham merged in with CBIZ. I'm with CBIZ.
Okay.
So
there we go. Danny will abstain.
Yep.
Tim, it's Bud. I just had a quick question. I support the settlement. I just was curious on what was the nexus to Connecticut that was mentioned in this case?
I can't go into too much details, but we looked at the cases that the SEC and PCAOB looked at, and the amount of audit that Markham performed in Connecticut or using Connecticut licensees.
Okay.
And the number of offices that Markham has in the state.
That makes sense. Yeah, as I said, I support the settlement agreement. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Any other questions of Kat or me on this one? Okay. Seeing none, I'd like to entertain a motion for the settlement approval.
This is Pete. I'll make the motion to accept the settlement agreement.
Okay.
Robert Dale, second.
Robert, thank you. We've got a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'd like to vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, not me. Any opposition? Hearing none, the settlement agreement is accepted.
Thank you.
It's proposed. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Kat. Okay, let's get back to the agenda. So item 6, correspondence. There's nothing in the section, so I'm not sure if there's anything anyone needs to raise as it relates to correspondence. If not, okay, let's move on to item 7. Comments or concerns of anyone present today. There is one item. We can add others, but first we've got comments and recap of the NASBA regional meeting, which both Sohair and I attended last week in Philadelphia. It's really a 2-day meeting, but ends up being a 3-day meeting for new member orientation. And Sohair raised her hand to attend on behalf of Connecticut, attended the new member orientation on Monday and the official meeting on Tuesday and Wednesday. She was gracious enough to, one, take very copious notes, and two, to share those with us in relatively summary form, but very detailed enough to give us a flavor of what was discussed. A number of different items, which I think you've all read, and it's part of the record right now. So I'll ask, Sohair to, since she had summarized those, anything, 1 or 2 items that in particular you thought was most interesting that you think the board should hear about directly?
Yeah, so, and for the record, my notes are in today's meeting materials. And you can see we covered a wide range of topics, ranging from, best operational practices to legislative updates from across the country to the impact of AI on the accountancy profession. I would kind of defer to the board. For me, it was extremely informative and a meaningful educational experience. It broadened my view with regard to my responsibility as a member on the State Board of Accountancy. And, I just want to thank Tim and NASBA and the other regional directors for being incredibly welcoming, friendly, and hospitable. It was a really good experience. And if anyone has not attended a NASBA meeting, I do recommend to attend at least one for the experience. But I would defer to the board. You've got the notes. I hope you had a chance to read it. It's all very informative. Whatever you feel we should focus on. Many of the topics were updates, but if you think that there are implications such as AI or even cybersecurity that we need to focus more on in the future, I would trust your judgment.
Thank you, Sohair. Any questions on the NASBA meeting and the various topics discussed? I mean, again, a lot of these end up being updates, things around like alternative practice structures. That's been on the NASBA agenda and discussed mostly from an independence perspective, but now it's getting more attention as it relates to, use of title and, whether or not the way these these alternative practice structures, which effectively is private equity buying into, CPA practices, how they're structured and whether there are any risks from a regulation perspective that need to be addressed. The one thing, and I'm sure it was in Sohair's notes, it's been a topic of discussion every meeting, and the state boards are still struggling with making sure they've got a handle on what they should be asking and looking out for and what the pitfalls might be. And so Chair Caldwell, the current chair of NASBA, has assembled a task force that's specifically going to address all of these matters over the next few months. And hopefully at the annual meeting, which will be in Chicago in October, there'll be an update in terms of where things stand. But, essentially an outcome hopefully is like a toolkit for state boards to become better informed, as well as, able to and equipped to really handle and address any issues within their state that might have an interest from the public interest and, the safety of the public relative to the use of these structures. So, okay. Well, that's there are no other questions. So Hare, thank you so much for attending.
Actually,
And
Tim, I had one
oh,
one
I'm sorry. Yeah,
question.
sure, Pete.
Sure. On the CPA exam, they were talking about, you had a bullet point so here on the credit relief initiative. And I was just curious, like we went to June 30th, 25. Is anybody going beyond that as far as, I don't know. I think we
Bonnie's
were pretty
nodding.
generous. I guess I'm trying
Okay.
to figure out if anybody's even
There
going
are-
beyond that.
Yeah.
There are some states that did go beyond that. I think what we and some of them went further in terms of the time period allowed to complete all 4 sections. We ended up going with 30. Some states went with 36. So we're in the middle of the pack.
Okay.
Yeah, nothing being proposed by NASBA that's going to change what they recommended states do. But I think individually, some states, to Bonnie's point, didn't go with what NASBA recommended and had their own approach towards exam extensions. Some
Okay.
even just doing it individually and not even mandating it. It's like, as they come, we'll address them.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a good question. Okay. Okay. So that brings us to item 8, which is, if there's no, well, I'll open it up. Any other things to bring to the attention that should be discussed at the board at this point? Bonnie?
So
Your
the
hand raised?
schools are calling to ask
yes.
for guidance, and they're being told, well, they initially started to call when the legislation hadn't been adopted. So the answer was it hasn't been adopted. We don't talk about anything till it's adopted, which is fair because you never know what's going to change. But I do think this could be folded in with the other group if wanted, but DCP is going to need guidance soon because the schools are looking for, and this goes into effect October 1st. So your next meeting of the board is not till the month of July, won't be till September. So I would just say that time is truly of the essence here in order to give the DCP the guidance they're going to need to enforce this or implement it the way they need to. A group's going to have to get together quickly and move fairly quickly just because this goes into effect October 1st. There's some other states too that have gone into effect with their changes already. So Pennsylvania made theirs effective upon passage. So we may have some ability to look at other states and see what they've already put into place or what they are looking at in terms of guidance as well. Pennsylvania is very similar to Connecticut in that they try to do things through legislation because regs take so long, but it's rare that regulations are not needed to fully implement something. So I can help pull those things together or what their drafts may be. But my push is going to be to move quickly because the every other month will not allow DCP to be provided with any thoughts from you. And in fairness to them, they're going to need that guidance.
Bonnie, if I
Bonnie.
could react to that and pose a question. At the NASBA meeting, the American Institute of CPAs mentioned that they have guidance for colleges and universities. Is that guidance just to prepare students for the CPA exam, not necessarily the new pathways?
They actually have both. So I would say that they haven't fleshed everything out to the extent that we're going to need to have completely a smooth transition. And that's just because every state has a little bit of a twist on something in their state. But I do believe much of what they have will help us. And I did put a call into both John Johnson and Kent earlier today to say, are you working on anything that you think would be helpful too? So I do believe that we will have stuff from AICPA, definitely. I'd be surprised if we didn't have some things from NASBA and also from some other states to help. I don't think we're starting off at ground zero. I think we'll be able to take stuff that's already out there. And I also don't believe that substantial changes are going to be needed. It's more a question of figuring out what makes the most sense and getting the word out as we work through the regulatory process. Because DCP is going to have to give guidance and will be enforcing things before the regulations are ever adopted.
Great, thank you.
And I'll add just on that front in terms of getting the word out on this or any other matters that are of interest to the CPAs or wannabe CPAs, within the state. NASBA does offer a service from a communications perspective to help assemble newsletters. And they do it for a number of different states. There's no charge to the state for doing so. So that might be something we look to leverage to get it, to get something assembled and out, officially from DCP and from the board, on this matter as it comes together. So we know it's getting into, to the right hands. So Tom Kenny in NASBA could be very helpful in that regard.
And the other thing is when it comes to trying to figure out what we want to do and working with the schools, we have at the CTCPA an educators group. So anybody who's a educator, an accounting educator in the state pretty much belongs to this, or somebody from their department or multiple people from their department do. So all the schools that offer an accounting program or a minor, et cetera, are on it. So we do have a group we can go to that can help us with the guidance or help us with the questions. So I already have a list of questions from the University of Connecticut would like answered so that they can guide their students, because that's the big thing now. The schools pretty much they're very good with the people that are in the accounting programs at their school. They have somebody at almost every school, if not multiple people, that are designated to be a liaison with the students to help. So for example, at UConn, Erin, it's pretty much her full-time job to work with them, guide them, help them understand which test to be taking first, which next one, et cetera. So we do have questions already, and if you believe it would be helpful, I'm happy to reach back out to that group to say, please send your questions in now. We'll be meeting soon and would love to be able to address all your questions. If that's acceptable to you, I think that would be really helpful.
Speaking for myself, I see why not. I mean, why not get anything out there that's on someone's mind that needs to be addressed? Kind of a completeness check on what we think they might need to know. So personally, I think that would be very helpful if we could do that. Any others?
I would agree. I think that's a great idea.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. I'm just making sure that anything else someone answered, I'm not forgetting. I'm sorry, asked. I think that pretty much covers it. So Fairfield University is part of that. I had spoken to somebody else and they'd asked about the other schools, and just want to let everyone know that literally every school in the state, including community colleges, are part of this network, and I think that will help a lot. So I appreciate your willingness to let them supply us with questions, and then we can move on, or if not questions, recommendations. I did get some recommendations that I thought were very interesting from a few members who are actually, I think one of them is an adjunct professor, but from a few members too, in terms of how they thought moving forward might help. So I'll pull all those together and I'll have them. I'll share them with Rochelle. Can I share them with you? No, here.
Yeah, that'll be fine.
I'll share them with her as well. So I think I've got the latest for people's emails, but I'll make sure those get out. It'd take me a little while to pull this stuff together. It's summertime, so getting in touch with the educators in the summertime is anything but easy, but we're going to start now because of the timing.
All right. Great. Thank you, Bonnie. Okay.
Tim, I have one question. Just
yeah, sure, Pete.
General. I guess, can somebody from DCP indicate when, like, the individual and firm licenses, like the renewal notices, are going to go out? And I guess I'm just trying to think ahead about, can we somehow highlight that, like items like individuals, sole proprietorships need to have a firm license and stuff like that? Can we get that stuff highlighted in some manner and maybe coordinated with the Connecticut Society so that when it goes out, I don't know, we seem to have a lot of cases in this area, whatever. So can we just remind people?
I would go so far as to say, I forget if it's when you register a business with the Secretary of State or when you register with the DRS or both, that you have to enter your NAICS code. If, it'd be great if when you're entering that code, you got a little notice like, hey, go to this other section of the state. I know that's complicated, but I see this in my practice all the time, that we have all these interrelated things in the state of Connecticut, and people aren't trying to screw up the law. It's just be a very complicated laws where you've got to go to 3 or 4 different state organizations when you're opening a business. And, it'd be great if we could make it easier for them, frankly.
I can say that we can't require the Secretary of State to do anything,
Of
like when they, right? So I don't know how, they're probably not open to
The
that.
question
because
is
a lot of
it a
other codes.
conversation we'd be willing to have?
I can certainly look into that, but Pete, I totally agree. We have taken steps. It is on our website. So the letter for renewal goes out in October. I believe the language was added last year, but let me double check to make sure that it will be added this year as well as to the requirement.
I couldn't remember if the renewals went out in September or October, so it seems far away, but wasn't even sure we were going to meet again before they went out. So I don't know.
Yeah.
And maybe something about quality review as well, because that just seems to be another sticking point or whatever. I don't know. I mean, my recollection is when you get the renewals, it comes in an email from the department. So even if it's not on the form itself, can they put something? I don't know. I'm just trying to think ways to get people to comply, because I agree with Robert. I don't think people are trying to skirt it. I just don't think they understand what the rules are. And
I think 98% of people renew online. So when they enter that portal, I believe that we can flag it as well, like have a pop-up or something that says, if you are you need a firm permit. If you're not, everyone needs a firm permit basically. But we can definitely add more sequences to the process. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that feedback.
Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I think being proactive on these things is absolutely going to be helpful and reduce the amount of time we have the DCP and we have to deal with issues when they come up, because to your point, Pete, people aren't intentionally skirting the rules. It's just they don't really have a full awareness of what they are at times. So
just along that front, it would also be really helpful to know the deadline that DCP has for submitting their legislative proposals, I guess, to OPM, because what Pete just mentioned regarding quality review, that's how we refer to peer review in our statutes still, and we need to clean that section up. We'd started to work on that with the AICPA's peer review people last year and NASBA, and that's something that we can try to finish up and hopefully get in part of DCP's package, but we need to know the deadline for that. So if that could be provided, that would be very helpful, because I think that's in October.
Yeah, I don't know the date, Bonnie, but I will get it for you.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Kat. Okay. All right. I think we've covered everything on the agenda. Yeah, so with that, it's 11:26. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn today's meeting if that's good with all.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Simultaneous.
Or Pete.
With the first.
So we have a motion, and I think Sahara has a second. And this is one I don't think there's any discussion over. So those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Any
Aye.
opposition? Good to hear. The ayes have it. Meeting is adjourned. Thank you all for bearing with me today. I appreciate your your
Good
input
job,
and
Tim.
time.
Enjoy summer, everybody. Talk to you soon.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank you.
you as
Summer.
well.
Take care, everyone.
Thank
Take
you.
care. We'll be in touch.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.